And I want you now to go from Psalms to Matthew chapter 7. And I want you to listen to Jesus Christ this morning preaching a Christmas tidings from Christ himself as we lift right out of the words of Jesus Christ his message to us this Christmas. And if Jesus got to speak this morning, he would say something very close to this, because this was his most often repeated message of his earthly life that I'm going to share with you this morning. He warned of the spiritual condition of being lost, of being headed in the wrong direction. He called it lostness. Being lost or doomed is essentially to not follow his directions. He's told us where to go. And if we don't go his way, which is the only way, there aren't many ways. In fact, I was sharing with someone, they found a picture somewhere in the church that was on the wall, and they said, we've been coming here for ages. We don't know what this picture means. And it's this picture of about a 50s picture of New York City, and there's the United Nations building, and there's Jesus standing, knocking on the United Nations. And he said, does this have something to do with ORU? I said, no. No, this isn't at the City of Faith. That's not what that picture is. I said, what it's about is, it's the direction our world is going. United Nations, globalism. If we can get everybody in the United Nations, get them all talking to each other and settle their disputes at the conference table instead at the battlefield, we'll have peace in the world. That's the direction our world is going. They think globalism and this whole idea of a one world system will give peace. And the idea is Jesus is outside saying, hey, I'm the Prince of Peace. You can't have peace without me. You're leaving me out of this. This is what he said. He says you can't have peace without me. Look at chapter 7 of Matthew's Gospel. Because doomed ones, people who don't get his directions down and follow him, number one, doomed ones are thrown into the fire. Matthew 7. He said this. I'll start in verse 16. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes? Do you find figs growing on thistle bushes? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Now, without 7 years of Greek education and a rocket scientist degree, can you figure out what he's saying? He's saying you'll know what people are like by what comes out of their life, the fruit of their life. I mean, you don't need 8 systematic theologies and a primer in Hebrew to get this. I mean, it's kind of, that's how Jesus taught. I like what Harry Ironsides used to say. He said that God did not want spiritual giraffes. He didn't put everything up in lofty places. He put all of his truth down low where sheep can get it. Down here. God puts all his cookies on the bottom shelf. I mean, it's down here for us. I mean, it's just simple stuff. A good tree, verse 18, doesn't bring forth evil fruit. Verse 19, every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you'll know them. He's talking about people. He's not talking about trees. This is not a botanical discussion of different species and grafting in and getting the plumpest, richest, juiciest fruit. He's talking about people. And he says by what comes out of their life, what they do when nobody's watching, what they do in the dark, what they do when they're away, what they do in their mind, what they do when no one will catch them. The fruit of their life, what they really are on the inside, tells what they are spiritually. Verse 21. Not everyone that saith to me, Lord, Lord. Now, when would they say this? Well, this is talking about worship. I mean, this morning, we're singing praise to God, and we're talking to him. Remember, he listens. He listens to all of his calls. He gets all of his mail. He says, if you're talking to him, you're in church, you say, Lord, Lord. But not everybody that says, Lord, Lord, not everybody that's in the organized church or out of the organized church will enter into the kingdom of heaven. No. It isn't just going somewhere and being a member of some organization to get you to heaven. This is what he says. No, it's those that do the will of my Father which is in heaven. From the heart, they have a new heart. They have a new capacity. They have an ability to do his will. Verse 22, many will say unto me in that day, what day? The last day, the judgment day. That's what he's talking about. Haven't we prophesied? We've gone out and told people about you. And in your name we've done great miraculous things. We've done wonderful works. In verse 23, and I'll profess to them, yes, but I never knew you. No. That's an interesting word. Look it up in the dictionary sometime. It has 3 levels of meaning. There is recognition, acquaintance, and experience. That's what Webster defined as. I think it's very fitting for this. A lot of people recognize Christ. I mean, it's Christmas, Easter, Jesus. I mean, A.D. We're living, after, in the year of our Lord, Anno Domini. I mean, they recognize him. Some are acquainted with him. They've read the Bible. They've seen him very vividly in people's lives. In fact, sometimes they've clutched onto their chair in church when they felt he was tugging at them. I mean, they're acquainted with him. But Christ said, I never knew you. There are many things that you don't know unless you've experienced them. Hunger, pain, and salvation are three good examples. You can describe hunger all you want until you feel that gnawing in the pit of your stomach. You don't know what hunger is. Pain. People can tell you, it hurts so much. And you go, I feel so bad for you. And then when it gets you, you go, it does hurt. Salvation. If you have never experienced Christ, if you don't know him. Well, doomed ones, people that aren't following his directions, number one, get thrown in the fire. Look at chapter 8, next message that Christ gives. Chapter 8 of Matthew's Gospel. And I'm going to start reading in chapter 8 at verse 10. And Jesus heard it, he marveled. This is the centurion, and he marveled and said to them, I say unto you in verse 10, I haven't found such great faith, no, not in Israel. Verse 11, and I say unto you that many shall come from the east and the west, and will sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom, verse 12, will be cast out into outer darkness. People that don't follow his directions get thrown out into outer darkness. I think it's very interesting. I shared this a few weeks ago that they found out that the center of the sun, one of the hottest spots we know in the universe, where there is thermonuclear fusion. I mean, that's the ultimate fire. But they said it is absolutely black. There is no light because it's so dense that no light can escape that place. So, in the hottest fire in the universe that we know of, it's blackness of darkness, outer darkness, and there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth.